All right, Julian, I see you on here. Like, let's talk. All right, let's talk about it. I got a ridiculous amount of. Let me turn this volume down. I got a ridiculous amount of requests asking me to tap in and talk about what happened. Um, so I am. I'm gonna jump on and we're gonna talk about it a little bit. All right, I'm gonna give it to you from my perspective. Um, the first thing that I say is rest in peace to that little girl because regardless of what was going on out there, that's somebody's daughter. You know what I mean? That's somebody's daughter that's no longer here with us. And I don't think it's cool under no circumstances, regardless if the police are justified, that there's a 16-year-old girl that's dead right now. All right, so that's the first thing that I'm going to say is rest in peace to that little girl. The second thing I want to say is just being honest. Let's be for real. We don't have all the facts yet. Right now, everybody is going off of the clip that they seen or the story that they heard or the Instagram video. And the reality is with situations like this, you got to put it all together. You cannot just go off the first thing that you see, the first thing that you hear. I don't think that that's right. I don't think that that's cool. The timing really couldn't have been worse. I mean, it popped off right as the George Floyd case was coming to a close. So the timing really couldn't have been worse. But the first thing I want to say is you got to be real careful when you forming an opinion based on part of the facts. I don't think that that's cool to do. And there's a lot of people making some really bold statements that I'm like, it's not even enough information out there to draw those types of conclusions. So that's what first and foremost what I want to throw out there. But if we want to have a conversation based on what's out there, all right, here's the second thing I'm gonna say. The second thing that somebody tagged me in said, do I think that 4 shots was excessive? Right? We're not even gonna get into the right or wrong. Was 4 shots from the police officer excessive? My answer is always it depends. Okay? Let's just be upfront and honest. When adrenaline is flowing through your body, it is very common when you use your firearm to fire off multiple shots. That's not a wanting to kill somebody thing. That is a side effect of adrenaline. All right, I teach my students in our smart shooters class that adrenaline will cause your body to involuntarily do things, okay? Firing multiple shots is one of those things. Which led to another point that I want to address, which is how come the police didn't shoot her in the leg or shoot her in the arm, try to wound her? That is not what they are trained to do. As well as CPL holders, that is not what we're trained to do. We never shoot to wound. We never shoot to kill. We only shoot to stop the threat. All right? That is something that if you take CPL class with me or hopefully any good CPL instructor, they'll teach you the exact same. If your CPL instructor is teaching you shoot to kill, that's a horrible instructor. We don't shoot to kill. If he's teaching you shoot to wound people, that's horrible. We don't shoot to wound. We never shoot to wound or kill. It's only to stop the threat. All right? Right, wrong, indifferent, however you may feel about it, that's just the truth of the matter. That is how they are trained. That is how anybody who carries a firearm should operate. All right? Based on what we see now, I have a hard time drawing a conclusion on whether it's justified or not. All right? And I'm just going to be 1,000% honest. And I can even be honest enough to say that with the George Floyd situation just happening yesterday, my feelings is already on 1,000. All right, my feelings is already up there. So I already am not trying to give an officer the benefit of the doubt. All right, and that's just me being honest. And I feel like as a culture, we just got to be honest with everything that's going on. And we not trying to hear the officer side of nothing. But when you honestly take a look back and think about it, I don't feel like there's enough information out there to say this is just a stone cold murder, especially from the videos that I watched. The videos that I watched where she's got that knife cocked back ready to go forward with it. Do I think that justifies shooting her? It's tough. Because what if it was your child on the other end of that knife? Like, what if that knife was headed towards your child in a fight? Would you have wanted the police to intervene? I just think it's tougher than what it looks like. I think it's hard. Did the officer have to shoot her? No. Could he have deployed his taser? I think so. He probably could have and maybe should have deployed a taser instead of a firearm. But there's multiple complications when it comes to tasers. I mean, thank you, Ramon. I wholeheartedly agree with that. That's something I'm gonna touch on towards the end. Because the fact that that girl was anybody was even over there fighting is a whole nother thing. All right, so let's just look at the facts. You're an officer. You respond to a call about a fight. You get out. They're still fighting. It's chaotic. And you see somebody swinging a knife at another person. What should you have done? Like, let's just be honest about it. What do y'all think he should have done? Because the police are there and they are trained to neutralize the threat, regardless of however we feel about how they neutralize that threat. That's what they're trained to do. They go there, their job is to diffuse the situation by whatever means are deemed necessary. Again, this is not me agreeing with the cop. I can't say I agree with him, even if it's even if it's later ruled justifiable. Because, like, let's just be 100. Somebody is going without a daughter right now. Somebody's daughter is no longer here. Now, there's some reports that say that the girl was sticking up for herself. She was the actual one who called the police. That sucks if that happens, but if the police come to the scene and see you participating in an unlawful act, that's all they respond to. They never will jump out the car and say, who's the one who called 911? Not when a fight is happening now. And that's the thing that I think people got to remember, is that the imminent threat was happening now. All right, they responded to something that was happening when they got there. They didn't have any information, any stories to go off of. They got dispatched to respond and jumped out and had to hurry up and respond to a situation. Do I think that he should have got out with his firearm? No. I don't see it. I don't see why he got out and went straight with his firearm. All right, I don't. But then again, I'm not in that position either. It would be hard to say. He could have. And so that's another risk that the officer took. By coming out and firing shots, he might have hit the very person that he intended to protect. Do I think he should have went straight for a firearm? No, I don't think that. I definitely do not. I think that was poor judgment on the officer's part. Especially because there definitely was things he could have done to break that fight up. I think he could have went for pepper spray. I think he could have went for a taser. But at the moment he spotted a knife, and this is just anybody, not even just police officers, anybody, if I'm in an altercation, the moment I see a knife, that escalates everything 10,000%. I'm definitely drawing a firearm if I see a knife. Because now the force isn't equal anymore. All right, so I think we got to be patient, though. I think we got to be patient. I think we got to wait for more information to come out. I think that emotions are already too high for us to really give this the benefit of the doubt. But I do not look at this the same way as I look at a George Floyd situation or anybody else who was wrongfully killed by the police. This is not the same thing to me. I do think this was an error in judgment on the officer's part. No way getting around that. But I don't think we have enough information to just be like, he wanted to kill her. This was a stone cold murder. This wasn't that. I don't see that. I believe the officer responded to the threat that was happening right there as soon as he got to the situation. Poor judgment or not, no argument here on that. Definitely poor judgment to go for a firearm. I would have much rather him went for a taser, pepper spray, something to try to de-escalate quickly. So to jump out the car and immediately go for the firearm, I don't see it. But to say that this was just a stone cold murder, this was not that. Because even if the girl he was defending was in the wrong and the girl with the knife was in the right, all he knew was what he walked up to. And that's the tough part about being law enforcement. So should he have gathered some more information before he acted? Absolutely. Absolutely. He definitely should have got some more information before he just started shooting folks. The flip side of that is, if he wouldn't have done something, that girl would have got stabbed. All right? And we could have 2 dead girls on our hands. Because after she stabbed him, he definitely would have shot after that. It's tough. It's tough. I gotta be careful about what opinions I form about the officer before I just go out and say that this is a stone cold murder. I don't think this was that. And people can like it, they can hate it. You can feel some type of way about me. I don't feel like any of these situations should be causing us to take anything personal with each other anyway. But I think, like everything, you gotta wait for more facts to come out. Somebody just sent me a video before I went live of a girl who was actually there. And said the cop tried to say the girl tried to stab him. I would hope that wasn't his story, because the body cam video definitely showed that that was not the case. All right. What's the question is, why didn't he shoot to take her down versus shoot? Because that's not how officers are trained, Quentin. Like, just being honest, concealed carry, we teach you not to do that. You don't shoot to wound people, all right? That's not a thing. We aim for the largest mass on someone's body. All right, whenever you deploy a firearm, when you draw that firearm and you go on target and you're ready to shoot, you aim for the largest mass of body. We don't shoot to wound because you'll probably miss. When you think about it, I'm 6'5", 200 and something pounds. You got all this to shoot at. Why would you shoot at my leg? Are you more likely to hit me in the arm? Or are you more likely to hit me here? All right, that is how anybody should aim when deploying a firearm. There's no such thing as shooting a wound. That is one of the biggest myths when it comes to the police possible, is that they're taught to shoot to wound. They're not. They're taught to shoot to stop the threat. And so what that officer did, I believe in good conscience, was trying to stop the threat. And I can promise you, when shooting under adrenaline, take a class. Take a class with me, rather it's with Damian Allen and Freedom Elevated, rather it's with Rich and Big Shot Ammunition. Like, take a CPL class, go through drills where we simulate adrenaline. It's very common to shoot multiple shots under adrenaline. All right, nobody ever just one. If your life is threatened to the point where you draw a firearm, it's very common to pow, 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 pow. All right, that's anybody. We actually teach people to prepare for that, to train for that, because it's going to happen under stress. It's not realistic to think that police officers are some sort of superhumans that don't get affected by adrenaline. They do. And if an officer was to get out, and again, I am not by any means defending the action of the officers. I'm simply just speaking of how adrenaline works in the human body. If you jump out and everybody's fighting when you jump out, and you can't get any type of control of the situation, but then you turn and somebody has a knife and they're swinging it towards another person, that adrenaline is going to start to just dump. Because at that moment, the decision is all on that officer to either save this person's life or watch them get stabbed. All right? I'm not excusing anything that he did, but we got to be realistic about, what did he walk into? What did he walk into? For everybody who's saying that the officer is justified, it's too early to say that. I just don't feel like that's right. You really got to understand holistically what happened first. I am not going to say that the officer was justified for what he did. But what I will say, what he did was human. Like, it's the reality of what happens. Like, let's take it as you and me. If you jumped out of a vehicle, see, here's the thing. I see somebody saying, but they were there to fight her. If you pull up on somebody else's property and end up getting your ass whooped, that's your fault. Correct. But the officer doesn't know that. The officer didn't even get enough time. If you just go solely off of the video that's out there, he didn't even get the time to establish who was who. There's not one point in that dash cam video where he sees who's the good guy and the bad guy, who lives there versus who came to fight. There's nothing that showed that. He only responded off of what was happening, which is sad, but it happens all too often, even in our community. Even in our community, it happens all too often where police come and they respond off of what's happening when they get there, not off of what they were called for. I can't say that that's 100% the officer's fault because nobody was trying to get an officer no information. When he got there, nobody said, hey, officer, they're the bad guys. They came to my house. They were fighting. I agree with the training portion. Would he have gotten out with his weapon drawn, ready to shoot if it was a group of white kids? It's hard to say. See, that's the part of it where I say our emotions are already at an all-time high because of the George Floyd situation and every other situation that happens in our country right now. He could have rolled in with his siren too. Agreed. There are things that he could have done to try to diffuse the situation. That's why I said I am not on the officer's side. All right. What I wanted to do was come on live and address the things that people tag me about. Like, was 4 shots too much? You can't say 4 shots is too much because if someone was in front of you holding a gun, when your adrenaline starts to flow, you're going to let off more than 1 shot. If you don't believe me, ask any of my students who took smart shooters class. All right, when that adrenaline is flowing, you would be surprised what your body does under stress. I agree. That definitely could have helped diffuse. And somebody said getting your ass whooped and getting stabbed are 2 different things. Agreed. When you bring a weapon in the mix, regardless of if they're jumping there. All right, when you bring a weapon in the mix, it's a totally different story. And it's a totally different story in how the officers respond. All right, if he went out there and everybody was fist fighting, it probably would have been different. But when you jump out of your vehicle and you see weapons, your natural response is, let me get a weapon. If I'm going to tell y'all a story. It's funny that Kalani on here. Me and Kalani one night was in the chicken coop. We was just getting some chicken. And out of nowhere, people start shooting. All right, so we jumped down on the ground. We getting shots is flying. Then we get up. What did I do when I got up? I got my firearm. It didn't matter who was innocent, who was guilty. At that point, people are shooting. So at that point, I have to do the best. I have to take the best means to protect myself. All right. Officers think that same way. I think it is completely unrealistic to think that that officer would have got out with weapons present and not have his weapon drawn. It doesn't work that way. I ideally would have loved if the officer would have got out with his taser and tased the situation or pepper sprayed. But that happened so fast. If y'all watch the same video that I watched, it happened so fast. And by the time he turned to the girl, she was cocking that knife back, ready to stab something. So he responded. Right, wrong, or indifferent. The same thing that I personally feel like any of us would have done if we was in that exact same situation. Now, see, Rich, you talking about, my brother Shard on here is talking about something that's a little deeper. Y'all need to take our CPL classes for sure. when we talk about the rules that govern deadly force. All right, because one of those rules is you have to be an innocent party. I agree, boss. She should have stayed in the house. By all means. She should have tried to stay in that house. She should have tried to establish herself as the innocent party. All right? Once you go from innocent party to active participant, in the eyes of the law, you're no different than the people who violated you. All right? So the assault charge is the same. Everything is the same when you go from innocent party to active participant. It sucks, but that's really how the game works. All right? This is really how it works. This is what we try to teach people in our class. My wife said, because the initial call was about a stabbing. Yeah, of course it does. If the officers get a call about a weapon, they're going to get out of the car with guns drawn. All right? And this happened to me personally in real life where somebody seen me with a firearm, called the police, and the police got out with their firearms. It happens. It really, really happens. Do they know me? No. Did they know anything I did wrong? Absolutely not. They were responding to the call. Are you messing up? Come on, Wi-Fi, don't do that. Let me go back to my data. Hold on. All right, there we go. So, bottom line, what am I saying? I'm not saying that the officer was justified with what he did. By no means. All right? I don't feel like there's enough data out there to say that that officer was justified. I'm not saying he wasn't justified. He was responding to a call. The situation was escalated and escalating further where somebody could have lost their life. All right? I think we got to be careful about forming our opinion before we have the facts. It's easy to base your opinion on, but he's an officer. He was trained different. He should have known better. He could have shot her in the leg. For what we know, we don't even know that he didn't aim to try to wound her. I'm sure he didn't because they're not trained that way. But we don't know that. And if you took my class, a lot of y'all know it's hard to hit a piece of paper that's just standing still in front of you, let alone hit something that's actually moving. I'm not defending the officer by any means, but I'm just saying this is not the same thing. And that's what hurt my heart the most, is that my heart goes out to the little girl. I'm a girl dad. I have a daughter. But this is not the same thing as a George Floyd type of situation. This is not. It could be bad judgment on the officer's side, but if he doesn't face serious time for this, it would not surprise me because it's not the same thing. This is totally different. Totally different. This is the line of duty bad judgment calls, maybe, but definitely the right call to make. He saved a life at the end of the day. And it's easy to be angry when you think about your daughter holding a knife, but now let's think about the other girl's parents, who the officer saved. Regardless of if your kid was in the wrong. All right, because let's just face it, our kids are going to be in the wrong. Our parents had to deal with us being in the wrong. All right, I know I walked into some fights as a kid. I know that. But if it got escalated to the point where somebody was going to stab me, I would hope that somebody would intervene. Do I think it's right? No. And they went over there starting that fight with that little girl? No. And I hope they face criminal charges for going over there. I do. It should be consequences for their actions. But to say that that officer was wrong, I can't do it. Not without seeing something else that's just so substantial that it makes sense. Because to me, that officer jumped out and did everything that he was trained to do. All right? Take a CPL class. Look up the rules that governing deadly force. Learn these types of things because they put these types of shootings in perspective for you. All right? They put these types of shootings in a different perspective because it's easy to say it was the officer's fault. He shouldn't have did it. What should he have done? Like, that was the one thing that I haven't heard anybody say. And I'm here for it in the comments. I'm watching. What should the officer have done? Do you believe that the officer honestly should have watched and let that girl stab her because they came to her house? Because if so, you don't know the rules around deadly force. All right? Now, as far as the girl using the knife, she could have used what's called the disparity of force, meaning that she had no other option than to use a weapon because she was being jumped. Couldn't have been a fair fight. But in order for that to work, the other rules of deadly force still had to be in place for it to be justifiable. And when the officer turns and sees somebody about to stab somebody, that's a whole different ballgame. Especially if it, like it appeared, it looked one-on-one, even if they were jumping her in the past. All right, I promise you, research your stand your ground laws. Research castle doctrine because it happened at her house. That's why she didn't have a duty to retreat, because they were at her place of residence. Look all of that stuff up, man, and understand what it means. Does it change the effects of anything? No. All right, we still sad because a 16-year-old girl lost her life. Austin, you should have logged on earlier, man. There is no such thing as shoot to wound. All right, I hope your CPL instructor taught you that. All right, there's no such thing as shoot to wound. All right, you don't shoot to wound. You don't shoot to kill. You only shoot to stop the threat. And we aim for the largest body mass possible, which is the person's upper body. When you think about it, again, shooting her in the leg, is he more likely to miss shooting a leg, or is he more likely to hit going up here? Like, I mean, I wish more and more people got this training, man, because people think that they just get these little licenses and then they can carry around their pistols. We're really trying to educate people on this type of stuff. There is no such thing as shoot to wound. Like, I had a family member who told me something earlier. They said, aren't police taught to shoot to wound? No. Nobody's taught to shoot to wound. If your instructor told you that, he is not teaching you very well. Like, nobody is taught to shoot to wound. You shoot to stop the threat. We shoot in the largest open body mass available. Primarily, they aim for the cardiovascular triangle. Why? Because if you hit anything in here, the threat is more likely to stop. You start puncturing the cardiovascular system. You start ripping vital nerves in the nervous system. You shoot here, the threat is more likely to stop. Murder. It could be murder. It could be. Depends on who you ask. Again, I'm not here to defend the officer. That is not by any means what I'm doing. I am simply just offering a different perspective. All right? At the end of the day, a 16-year-old girl is dead at the hands of the police, and that's sad enough. Especially that happened on the day that it happened. But I'm just here to offer a different perspective, right? I'm not on the side of the police. I'm very pissed off. I'm really hoping something more comes out that helps justify something on the officer's behalf, because I'm pissed he jumped out with a pistol instead of a taser, instead of some pepper spray. Y'all know, if y'all know like I know, pepper spray will break up a fight faster than anything else. You start breathing in that pepper spray, it's a problem. But with somebody wielding a knife, you don't have time for pepper spray to work. And there's no guarantee even with a taser that she would have stopped right away. Because just like the officer had adrenaline flowing and endorphins going, so does that girl. So does anybody when they get in a physical altercation. In case you don't know what endorphins are released from your pituitary gland. They raise your pain threshold. So you don't feel, things don't hurt as bad as they normally would under stress. Did he tell her to drop the weapon? I have to watch the video again and see, man. There's a million things you could say. You could say he could have issued verbal commands, which is part of training. The flip side of that argument is if somebody's jumping me, I don't care about a police officer saying stop. I'm focused on defending myself, which is why the girl may not have complied if he did say drop the weapon. She wasn't focused on drop the weapon. She focused on stopping the threat to her life. Again, this is why I can't be on the side of the police. All right? But I'm just saying, he was heard saying drop it several times, but I don't think she had time to comprehend he was there. Of course not. That's what I'm saying. Even if he would have said drop the weapon, but I'm fighting to defend my life, I'm not listening to you. I'm not even cognizant that you're there. All right? If you take CPL class, and I'm not just trying to promote my classes, we teach you about the side effects of stress. We teach you about automated responses like tunnel vision, only seeing what's the threat to your life. Auditory exclusion, meaning that I can't hear like I normally would hear. That's a response to stress. All of this stuff I teach you guys. Well, I teach you this stuff because these are the real life applications where it matters. All right, a lot of times people don't want to hear this type of stuff, but it all matters. It all is factored in, and believe it or not, it's legally considered when the trial starts. This is stuff that they legally consider. So, believe it or not, this is stuff that you should be learning, because should you find yourself in a situation where you got to defend your life, these are things that help justify your actions. I agree. A lot of cops been doing whole shit, but at the same time, the decisions got to happen quick, and many people with opinions probably make the right decision. Agreed. But at the same time, they train way better than the average civilian, so they shouldn't be making all the wrong decisions. So this is the hard part, because I agree with you. Officers should definitely be held to a higher standard than civilians, because they're trained in this every day. This is what you signed on to do. All right, this is why I got less compassion for cops making mistakes. This is what you signed on to do. This is what you trained to do. But there is a human element to it. You are correct. The human element is that we make mistakes. They have to make a decision in seconds. He had to make that decision in seconds on whether he was going to let that knife swing forward or he was going to do something to interject. We can all argue on whether that was the right or wrong decision, but at the end of the day, he had to make a decision. And the decision was to save a life. It wasn't just like she was just standing in the middle of the street holding a knife and then he shot her down. That wasn't what happened. That knife was in motion. Somebody else's life was in danger. Did it suck that, to me, he shot the wrong person? The other people may not have done enough to shoot them, but he shot the wrong person. He shot the person who, to my understanding, called him to be there. And that truly can happen to any of us. All right? There's things in our class that we teach you on what to do when the police get there and how to respond. All right? I can tell you firsthand, when the police arrive to the scene, you should never have a weapon in your hands. Ever. There's a million things that you could argue different in this case on what the girl should have did different, as well as what the police should have did different. But at the end of the day, all we got is what happened. That's all we got. And truly, I don't feel like there's enough out right now to make a real decision on whether that shooting was justified or not. Because if I go by what I saw, which was the girl swinging the knife about to stab somebody else, then of course I would say, yeah, the shooting was justified. But if you go by the witnesses' account of things, I just saw a video on Instagram of the girl that went live from the scene. It doesn't seem as justified to me. That's why I feel like I gotta wait. Yes, anybody saying shoot somebody in the leg definitely needs to take a class with me. Because we don't shoot in the... What is the advantage of shooting somebody in the leg? If you shoot somebody in the leg and then they pull out a firearm and shoot you, you think they're going to aim for the leg? No, at that point, they probably could argue they got legal justified means to kill you. Like, we got to do a better job of educating ourselves and not responding out of emotion. And that's what I told myself when I saw what happened. I'm not going to respond to this out of emotion. I know I'm already emotional because of what happened with the George Floyd situation. All right, thank God he finally got some justice. My wife can attest to this. I cried in my living room, like real tears, because that could have been me or any other black man that I know. Thank God somebody was there to record it. Crazy. However, I do not feel like this other case in Ohio is the same type of situation. Do I think it was bad judgment on the officer? Yes. I really, really wish he could have did something other than go for his firearm and start shooting. Are those shots in the legs and extremities still deadly? They're not as deadly as... So, let me break this down. Thank you for asking that question, babe. We teach people to aim at the cardiovascular triangle. Why? Because it's the biggest mass of body. It's less likely that you'll miss. The bad guy that you're shooting at still has the same adrenaline and endorphins that you got. All right? I don't talk about this story much. Unfortunately, I did get shot before. I got grazed by a bullet, grazed me in the arm. Wrong place, wrong time. The person wasn't even aiming for me. They were aiming for somebody else. I didn't feel it till minutes after because I had adrenaline going, because it was a group fight. I had adrenaline and endorphins going. I never felt it until long after the fact when it happened. There's countless stories of people who get shot in the arm, get shot in the leg, get shot in their torso, and they don't feel it until it's too late. A lot of people bleed out because their endorphins are going, so they never feel the pain of the gunshot. So when it comes to should you shoot somebody in the arm or the leg, there's no way to guarantee that will stop them. If you shoot somebody, if he shot that girl in the leg, she may not have even felt it because of the adrenaline and endorphins going through her body. Thanks for asking that question, babe, because people need to know that. When you aim for the extremities, that doesn't guarantee that you'll stop the threat. It doesn't, and I'm not telling you that as a police officer. I'm telling you that as a civilian, as people who can legally arm themselves, shooting somebody in their extremities does not guarantee that the threat stops. The only way we know the threat stops is when the threat actually stops. And the best chances of that happening is to aim for the cardiovascular triangle. The sound is going to stop them regardless. Possibly. We don't know that, though. I'm going to just take the situation I was in. They started shooting. We were still fighting. Nothing stopped until we heard like the fourth or fifth gunshot. And then we heard sirens, then we ran. If I'm defending myself, nothing that's going on is going to stop me from defending myself. I only know to stop when the threat stops. So in reality, as a bystander, yeah, it's been plenty of times where I heard gunshots, I got to running. But when I'm actually in the conflict, it's different. And that's the hard part, is because unless you understand the way adrenaline and endorphins work, it's easy to think like that logically, but that girl wasn't thinking logically. Let me see, what else did I get? I'm just perplexed. Come on, let's get you unperplexed. Let's talk. Because I feel that if it were a white teenager, the police would have done more to de-escalate. I agree. I don't know if that's factual, but based on the climate of the country right now, I agree. I agree that black people are over-policed, and that force is used more quickly with black people than other races. When police engage in black and brown communities, they shoot to kill. Mass murders get taken. Yep, I agree with that too. Literally spraying out bullets and killing them. Just saw a video of a white man beating up a police officer, and they told him get back and continue to get. He wasn't shot or killed. Yes, to all of that. What is it, Alamika? He didn't even announce himself. I'm going to come back to that. But yes, I agree with you there too. But hold on. I'm going to get back to you. Let me answer this first comment first. I do agree that police use way too much force in black and brown communities. I agree that anytime, for example, you see a black girl with a knife, you shoot. A white kid walks into a church and shoot it up, and he get to go to Burger King. Y'all asking him, do we want water before he go to jail? Like, I wholeheartedly agree with all of that. That's why I said I don't want people to see this video and think that I'm taking up for the officer. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to give y'all another perspective and something else to think about. Because the reality is that what happened with that officer could happen to any one of us. Take it as that wasn't an officer. What if that was her dad or her brother or sister coming to help? What if somebody told me my son was fighting and I just pull up and see somebody about to stab my son? Even if my son was in the wrong, the same thing would have happened. I'm just trying to give you something else to think about. But there's no denying, I don't care who you are, there's no denying that black people are not treated right in this country because of police. All right? And especially when we got weapons, legal weapons. I'm only telling you because I'm a CPL instructor. Chances are I'm going to get, when I get pulled over, I got to explain why I got 8 guns in the car, why I got 16 guns in the car, not just one gun. All right? Stuff can escalate pretty quickly. So I agree with y'all. I don't want y'all to think that I'm here justifying what the police did. I'm simply just giving you another perspective to look at. But I know my emotions are high right now. I know how I felt yesterday to be a black man in America and see a police officer finally get convicted of something that police officers do around this country every day. And unfortunately, there's no cameras to record it. Now, back to he didn't even announce himself. I agree with that. I believe whenever the police arrive on the scene, they got to make it known who they are. All right? I have a friend who got tased because he was fighting, didn't stop for the police, turned and started wrestling with the police and got tased. But he did not know that they were police. All he knew was he was getting jumped. And when he turned around, he thought it was somebody else there to jump him. That type of stuff happens all the time, yo. So I wholeheartedly agree with that. He should have made his presence clear. Sirens should have been going nice and loud when he pulled up. He should have been announcing himself. He could have done a whole lot more to make his presence felt. I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right. I'm not going to stay on here super long. I don't want to belabor the point. But I just want to give y'all other things to think about. To recap, I think we got to wait before we say, for everybody who's saying that the shooting was justified, I don't know if it was that. There are justifiable points to the shooting, but I don't think that the shooting was justified. I think we got to wait before we say that. What I do know is that what I saw as a black man is that I need to make sure that my kid is never in that situation. I got to do my damn best to make sure that my kid is never in that situation. Because that could have been any of our kids who were legally defending themselves that ended up shot. I'm highly pissed. That's somebody's daughter. who's never, ever going to be able to be here again. She ain't going to make prom. She never going to get married. She never going to have kids. All of that because the officer jumped out and responded to what was happening rather than deploying some different tactics to try to get control of the situation. So, I'm definitely not saying this is justified. Definitely not. But I am saying we got to see. We got to wait. We got to see. This does not exclude anything that the police do to anybody else. So when I made my opinion on this video, what I did was I took this incident for what it was. I took it for just this incident. Because like I said, we already mad. And even though they convicted my mans of killing George Floyd, that don't mean that they not going to give him 2 years in jail and 10 years probation. Right? We already know. We expecting the system to jank us. So for this to happen the same day, I already got super high emotions about it. I'm really like, F that cop. Throw him in jail too. But I don't feel like this the same thing. I feel like this is something that we got to look at a little more closely because the officer was responding to the call that they got. And though he could have handled it a bunch of other ways, like just being honest, I can't say that if I was in his shoes, I would have did it no different. I might have got out different. I might have tried to do some different things. But the moment you see a knife swinging towards somebody, and if you don't act now, somebody dies, I think it's a different story. All right? Those are my thoughts. Come take some training with me. I could teach you about the automated responses, things your body does under stress. It helps put these things in a little better of a perspective, all right? So if you don't know who I am, my name is Daryl Rostick. I'm a firearms instructor. I teach CPL classes as well as a bunch of other self-defense classes. Come take a class with me. Come learn about these types of things. These are the types of things we talk about in class, all right? Because I want to help equip you to make sure that this doesn't happen to you, all right? Need more information? www.smart-shooters.com. Go ahead, click on the Book a Class tab. You can learn more about my instructors along with myself, and learn about the movement because I'm trying to equip our community. I'm trying to equip us with knowledge and skills to protect ourselves in these type of situations. Whether you are the person with the knife, the person who was about to be stabbed, or the person with the gun, you got to know your rights. You got to know your rights. You got to know the law. And I'm here to try to help teach you that, all right? Hit me up if y'all interested in training. I'm going to check the comments. I don't think it was any more questions. Let me see. Somebody said, because we aren't law enforcement. I get that. I get that. And I want to make it clear, too. Law enforcement definitely should be held to a higher standard. All right? Law enforcement should not be judged like civilians. They should be judged a lot tougher. A whole lot tougher. They should be scrutinized a lot more. This perspective prepares us for what we could see happen in this case. Correct. This could happen. I mean, listen. That's the reason that I'm trying to teach you this stuff. Thank you, babe. You should co-host this live with me. I'm trying to teach you this stuff because this is what you could see them use as arguments. This is what, in my class, all right, in CPL class, a Michigan attorney teaches you what the jury is told to consider. Part of what they're told to consider is how the person felt, even if they made a mistake. Did they fear for their life, even if their life wasn't truly in danger? All right. Once I watched this video and I got this knowledge, I was like, yo, this is crazy. But if you don't know, then all you go off of is emotion. And that's why I haven't responded to people on Facebook it was easier for me to make a live because people are going off emotion. People don't want to have a real dialogue about the situation. What they want is to say, F the cops, he killed a black girl, throw him in jail. And I can admit my emotions say the same thing. But when I start thinking about it, there's so many other factors to consider. It's tough. It's not right, but in their game, it may not be illegal. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. We might not agree with what they come up with or their reasons why they use to try to justify stuff, but at the end of the day, like that's something I'm bracing myself for. At the end of the day, that cop may walk with no punishments. I got tased at 14 and they couldn't pull him out at the scene. The police do not know how to handle children. Yes, wholeheartedly agree with that. Police need to be trained a whole lot better on what happens when they handle children, how to interact with our children, how to stop our children, what type of force should be used with our children. All right? We go through this. I go through these conversations all the time. All right? I really do. Especially with my man who the police just shot when the lady was yelling, taser, taser, taser. And everybody said, oh, he shouldn't have ran. You can't say that. You don't know what trauma that boy went through in his life with the police. What if the police whipped him every time he got in the interaction with the police? They beat him. They rough handled him. They choked him up. Beat him in the back of the squad car. Of course he ran. Like, people underestimate the trauma that black people have been through when it comes to the police. And it really makes me angry. It makes me angry when people say stupid stuff like, oh, he shouldn't have ran. You can't say that. You don't know what that boy went through that made him run. And running does not justify shooting him. That's a whole... So even in that situation, I feel like that is different from the girl in Ohio. That, I believe she just wanted to shoot somebody. Because there is no way, matter of fact, there is no way, firearm is clear, that this Glock feels like a taser. Absolutely not. No way. I gotta rewatch. I missed it. Yeah, jump back in. This happens all the time. We need to know how to protect ourselves in the system. Yes. We definitely have to. Yeah, Nick, I'm going to touch on that in a second. We got to know how to protect ourselves. That's why I'm telling y'all. Of course, I'm in the business to make money, but Smart Shooters is about so much more than getting money from y'all. Like, Smart Shooters is about really equipping people to protect themselves and the people they love. That's what I created it for. That's why I called it Smart Shooters. I ain't call it Dope Shooters. I ain't call it Super Straight Shooters. I ain't call it Sharp Shooters. I called it Smart Shooters. And my original slogan was brains before bullets. Because before we get into shooting people, we got to know the law. We got to know what our police officers trained to do. I got to teach you about the Tooler drill. I got to teach you about how far your personal bubble should be. And how law enforcement use the Tooler drill to consider anything within 32 to 50 feet the danger zone, where they should start issuing verbal commands and they should gain access to their firearm. When you start getting these things in your perspective, stuff starts making a different type of sense to you. Yeah, Nick, I'm going to tell the Captain Save a Sister. I'm going to tell that another time. 4 times is overkill, period. I feel you. I can't argue with you there. But that's just a matter of personal opinion. Because again, I know how gunshots work. I shoot almost every day. With adrenaline in your system, it's very rare that anybody ever shoots one shot. Anybody. It is very common when shots are fired for multiple shots to be fired. What he did was he shot till the threat stops. Now, if she fell on the ground and he kept shooting, then I call that overkill. Because then the threat was neutralized and then he chose to keep shooting. But to just say because it was 4 shots and not 3 shots that was overkill, I don't agree with that perspective. Simply because, again, I'm looking at it from a firearm instructor standpoint. I'm looking at it from the simple standpoint of what adrenaline does to your body. All right. I very rarely, and I've seen shootings in real life. It's very rare that somebody ever shoots 1 shot under any circumstance. What other comments we got? He wasn't wanted for murder. He ran. Let him go. Exactly. So now this time, Talinda, I agree with you. That little boy, and I call him a little boy because he's young, but I'm only 33. But that young man, regardless of what he ran from the police for, didn't deserve to get shot. Running does not justify shooting somebody. And her yelling taser, 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 in my personal opinion, I don't think she believes she got her taser. I think she just wanted to add some conflict to the situation because she wanted to shoot somebody that day. That's what I believe. So hopefully by now y'all see that I'm not on the side of the police. I'm just giving you something to think about and hopefully educating you and equipping you with some knowledge that'll help you in the future. Nick, you should co-host this live with me. So if you watch, thank you, Stacy. If you go to my Smart Shooters Facebook group, I have a Facebook group for everybody who took my class. And in that video, or in that group, I shared a video of a guy who was attacking officers. Now, again, this was white privilege at its finest. This dude has got a stick about 6 feet long, and he's just whacking the officer, and the officer is just getting back, get back, get back. When the officer did shoot, it took 12 shots to stop this guy. Was that overkill? No, because the threat didn't stop. He shot him. He kept standing there. He was just standing there screaming, ah, getting shot. And the 12th shot, he finally dropped. It's on video. And it's funny because you can hear the black dude in the background. He just kept going, shoot his ass. It was funny. But the case in point, it took 12 shots to lay that guy down. So you can't say that 4 shots is overkill until you fully understand what shooting till the threat stops means. Now, again, I have to watch the video again because I didn't watch with the intention of seeing if he shot only until the threat stops. Because if he shot 3 times, she fell, and he shot again, I agree, that is overkill. But if he shot 1, 2, 3, 4, then she fell, then I don't agree with that. Because that's what they're trained to do. That's what CPL holders are trained to do. You're trained to shoot until the threat stops. Let me see. Did I get all the questions? Yeah, all right. I got 2 more minutes, or a few more. If y'all got any questions, hit me in the comments. Again, don't take other people's opinions so personal, y'all. Like, there's no reason that people should really be at each other's throats over this type of situation. And that's what I was seeing in the comments. And people was tagging me. People who took my class was tagging me. Like, Daryl, can you please explain this? Daryl, can you please explain that? And that's why I said I just go ahead and make a live video. I'm going to save it on my page so y'all can come back and reference it. I'm probably going to throw it up on YouTube so you guys can come back and watch it. But, again, no disrespect to that little girl's family. God bless the dead. Rest in peace to that little sweet young lady. Because I don't think she should have died. I really don't. And it's really sad that she did die. But I'm not going to say that this is a cop murder. I don't think this was that. I think it was a bad judgment call in the line of duty. I do. But I don't think this was a murder by a cop. And if me saying that makes you feel some type of way, you probably should delete me. I'm all right with that. But I don't think this was a murder. I don't think he jumped out the car with the intention to murder anybody. I think he jumped out the car only knowing what he was responding to, and then getting out the car, seeing the knife that he was responding to, and then trying to save the other girl's life. even if the other girl actually turned out to be the bad guy in this scenario. Ignorance of the law is what's getting a lot of our people killed in the heat of the moment. Agreed. I agree. I wish more people would take my class. All right. Just show me with little likes in the corner, man. If y'all would take a class where all I did was just talk about the lethal or legal use of force. And all I did was teach you the laws and things around can you shoot, can you not shoot, Michigan law. If I taught you just gun laws pertaining to Michigan and how you can or can't shoot somebody, hit some likes or something in the corner if you would attend that type of class. Or let me know in the comments. I would make it free. You could just do it right on Zoom and we just go over the laws and then answer questions. All right, I saw a few of them. I'm going to set that up. I'm going to set up a class where we simply just go over Michigan law and the legal use of force. It's all taught by a Michigan attorney. We'll just sit down on Zoom together. It'll almost be like cool, like we all getting together. We're going to sit down together on Zoom. I'm going to stream it to the Smart Shooters Facebook group. So if you're a part of Smart Shooters online community, I'll stream it. Otherwise, you can just register on the website. I'll set it up. We'll watch the video together, and I'll take whatever questions y'all got. All right? Because the thing is, people really are perishing for a lack of knowledge. All right? And I'm not any means an expert in law. What I am an expert in is what I teach. And any questions that I can't answer, I definitely go find the answer for us. Keys, thank you, bro. I appreciate you. I'm here for the community. I'm here for y'all. That's why I made this live. That's why I'm going to make this class. I'm going to do it for free. So tell everybody you know. I'm going to make it small so we don't get a bunch of questions that's just bogging us down. I'm going to make it 25 people. And then if we have enough interest, I'll do it again. But we'll do an online class where we'll have the Michigan attorney present to you Michigan gun laws and federal laws on the legal use of force. And then we could have some more dialogue about it. I promise you it's gonna be so informative. Nick, don't say that. Let me read your whole comment so I don't misjudge it. It's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6, but no one wants to save their life in a defensive situation to spend the rest of it in the cell. Okay, I agree with you, Nick. I just hate the statement that it's better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. It's not. It's better to be judged by none and carried by none. All right? Because if you know the law and you go by the law and you play your cards right, then you'll be judged by none. You'll be carried by none. The prosecutor will say that they're choosing not to file charges and you get to go home. And that's the best situation. That's what I teach people how to do. I teach you how to go home. I'm not teaching you how to shoot somebody and get away with it. It's not what I do. I don't teach you how to shoot somebody but only get 2 years for the gun. Like, that's weird stuff to me. I don't do that. I teach you how to go home every night. But I'm going to do this legal laws class. Yeah, Nick, it's all good, bro. I know what you meant. I know what you meant. I'm going to do this legal laws class so we can get some knowledge, insight, and then we could go. So I'm going to post it in the comments of this video. I'm going to keep this up. Tag people who you know should want to take the class. I'm going to set it up for some time next week because I'm going out of town this weekend. But when I get back, I'm going to come back and we can all sit down, watch a video of Michigan gun laws, watch a video of the legal use of force, and then have some dialogue about it. I think that'll be dope. All right. Again, my website, www.smart-shooters.com. If somebody I rock with is there, write my website in the comments so people can check it out. And yeah, go back and watch this video. Go back and watch this video. I did not mean for this video to be this long, but I enjoy the dialogue and I appreciate y'all, man. Until then, be safe, but stay dangerous. Brains before bullets. Daryl Rostick, Smart Shooters. I love y'all, man. Hit me up in the inbox if you got any personal questions. Peace.